Hi there, my name is Calvin. Welcome to Bad Betty's Barbecue.
So Calvin, what are you cooking for us today?
Well, we've got a couple things we've made. We've got a bourbon raisin bread pudding and a Huckleberry bourbon Boston bud. What I'm going to do today is show you how to make this at home, on your grill, in your backyard. We're going to start with the Huckleberry bourbon Boston bud. And what you want to do is go to your local butcher or farmer or meat market and find about an 8 to 10 pound bone-in Boston bud, often called a shoulder blade-in bud, roast. You want to get that bone in, like I said, which you'll see here. What we've got is the fat side up or the meat side up. We're going to cook this in a pan with the fat side down so that we get as much crust on this as we can, which is where we're going to get our yummy bits. And over here, we have our marinade. Now what I've done is I've mixed 1 cup of Neversweat Bourbon. I've mixed 1 cup of Huckleberry jam, a half a cup of local honey, I prefer local, and about 2 teaspoons of ground pepper. I've ran that through a blender, and we're going to inject all of that into this bud at various points. So what you want to do is you want to take your meat injector, and you want to have this very close, and you want to slowly draw up that injection into the needle, and then we're going to inject this into the bud. You know, you can find these at any restaurant supply store, Bed Bath & Beyond, often Lowe's or Home Depot will have them. They're pretty easy to find. What I do with this is I want to inject in multiple locations across the bud, specifically targeting around the bone, what we call the money muscle, and up in this center part to get as much of this into the meat as we can. You want to run your needle in, kind of bore it out a little bit. You want to push about 1/4 of it in, change direction, 1/4 more, change direction, and then finish that thing off till you're done. We're going to move over about 1 inch or 2, and we're going to do that exact same thing. You can actually see the meat plumping as you're pushing this into it. One thing I will warn you is it'll tend to start shooting out of the holes that you've already pushed in, so be careful. Definitely wear an apron for this part. Now I'm going to come to the side. We finished off the top, powdering out about every 1 inch or 2. We're going to come to the side, and we're going to put as much of this around the bone and into this thick centerpiece as we can. So I'm going to start on this end, get in there and work around that blade. As I said, be careful that you don't accidentally squirt yourself because it will fly out of there. And we're going to fill this with as much marinade as we can and try to keep as much of it in the meat as we can. Don't worry if some of it comes out, that's going to happen, and it's just going to sit in the pan and add flavor to the final product. And I'll just go ahead and keep on injecting this until we've used it all up. As you're injecting, if you start to see marinade push out of the other holes or out of the holes you're injecting, you probably have enough in that area, and you're going to want to move on a little bit further down the line. One thing I will say with this marinade is you definitely want to blend it before you try to inject it to smooth out that Huckleberry jam. I'm not too particular about where my injections go. Some people have a very distinct pattern. I just kind of make sure everything is covered. And if you think you've lost a little too much to the pan, feel free to pull that right back up into the injector and put it right back in at another location. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put some rub on our Boston bud, and we're going to put a little brown sugar on top of that rub to give it a little more sweetness. I like to use a shaker. You can use your hands. You just want to make sure you get all of the meat side covered as much as possible. You want to start in the middle and work your way out, or start in the edge, work your way in. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you get a nice even coat of rub all over that Boston bud. All right. Now that I've got my Boston bud rubbed, we're going to put a little brown sugar on top of that rub to give it a little more sweetness, a little more color when it's in the smoker. Sugar will burn, so we're going to show you how to avoid that once we get to the smoker. I'm just going to take a handful of that, lightly kind of spread it out. You don't want it super thick. Just give enough on top of that as it melts, it's going to give it that little bit of sugar glaze, that little bit of caramelization, and melt in to blend with that bourbon really well. So what I like to do now is I like to let this rest for about 2 hours. You want to wrap it up real tight, make sure it's not going to leak anywhere. Put it in the bottom shelf of your fridge, let it sit for about 2 hours. In the meantime, we're going to go outside, we're going to get our smoker started, set up and at temperature, and ready to cook this bad boy. All right, well, follow me outside and I'll show you how to set up your grill. You know, I set up a Weber grill back here because I wanted to show the folks at home how they can do it in their backyard with any sort of barbecue equipment. You can do this on a gas grill, you can do it on a pellet grill, you can do it on a Weber, on one of the ceramics. Anything you've got at home, what you want to do is get that thing set to about 225 to 250 degrees. I'm using a mix of charcoal and wood on this Weber, and what I've done is I've set up a hot zone and I've set up a cool zone. So we've got charcoal and wood burning on the right side, nothing on the left side. We're going to put the rack in here, and we're going to put that pork butt over the cool zone and let the charcoal and wood do all of the work, and we're going to keep replenishing those coals about every hour. All right, so I've got our Boston butt here. We've got our Weber up to temp. We're sitting at about 225, which is perfect for me. I've got charcoal and wood burning. I'm going to open the lid. I'm going to set this on the cool side, and we're going to let her smoke. You're probably going to be 7 to 10 hours, but what you really want is to check the internal temperature of this thing. You want this thing sitting at about 190 degrees when it's done. Now you can use an insert probe and leave that out, or check it periodically throughout the cook. All right, now we're sitting at about 9 hours on this guy to get it done. We're gonna go ahead and open it up, show you what it looks like, show you how to temp that thing. And we're gonna bring it inside, pull it apart, and enjoy it.
Oh my.
You can really smell the Neversweat coming off of this thing. I'm just going to go ahead and set this on the ground. I'm going to pull a temp on it. We're sitting at right at 192, which is perfect. Anywhere between 190 and 200 is right about where you want to be on one of these butts. All right, we've got everything prepared. We've got our Park Avenue Bakery bourbon bread pudding over here. We've got it glazed up. It's ready to go. You can find the recipe for that on the Headframe Spirits blog. And over here on my left, we've got what we've worked so hard all night for. We've got our injected Boston butt, injected with the Neversweat Bourbon, and that marinade that we made. We're gonna tear into that, we're gonna plate it up, we're gonna put some of this pudding on there, and the only thing left to do is to make a cocktail and enjoy. All right, we're gonna throw some of this bread pudding on the plate. Just dig in there, get a big healthy scoop right there. And now I'm going to tear into this Boston butt over here. We're going to get some close-up action so you can see that happening. Look at that pork. It just peels apart. You can see that smoke ring in there. You can smell that Neversweat bourbon coming out of the meat. We're going to just put big chunks of that over here. People can get some of that tender meat. They can get some of the outside crust that we've worked so hard to develop. Taste that brown sugar and the rub all blended together with the Neversweat. You throw a little Bad Betty's barbecue sauce on that, or sauce of your choice. It is so good. I'm going to try it by right now. It's the first time I've actually tried it. Yeah. Damn good. All right, we've got our bourbon bread pudding. We've got our Huckleberry bourbon injected pulled pork. I've mixed a cocktail using Neversweat bourbon, a little bit of that reserve marinade, and some ginger beer. I call that the Bad Betty, and we're going to dig in. Cheers and enjoy.